that thing's all jacked up. Here's Reggie's camper, and his camper jack on this side wasn't working. It's really tough to turn. So here's the camper jack right here. And you see it just can't even turn that knob. So I brought him one from my old camper here, and he replaced it with this one. We're gonna take this one back to the shop, and we're gonna open that up and see if we can't fix that. So not only is Reggie having trouble with his jacks and his, but I'm also having a little trouble with mine. I got a little different setup though. I installed the stable lift on mine and has 3 electric jacks. So basically the same principle. It's just got the jack here, 2 on that side, 1 on this side, but it has the electric motor to it. And it's been really slow lately. So I have a little 3-panel switch here. I can raise them up. They still work, they're just going a lot slower than they used to. So I'm thinking they're just gummed up in there, need a good cleaning out. So I'm going to pull those off and also rip those apart and see what's inside of them and clean them up so you can see how these work also. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. My name's Randy, you're watching Go Midwest Fishing. If you have a sticky or stuck camper jack, well, we're going to help you fix that today. I got 2 jacks here. One is from my buddy's slide-in truck camper. It's right here, it's got the mechanical operated hand crank, which you saw in the beginning. And the other one is from my slide-in truck camper, which I have a stable lift on my truck. And if you haven't seen one of those, we'll discuss that later, but it is operated with a electric motor. All right, I'm not an expert on this, but I'm pretty handy. I think I can figure this out. So we're gonna open these things up, see what's inside of them, and see if we can't fix them, make them work like new again. Now there's rarely a time that I go camping that I don't go fishing. In order to pull my 18-foot boat, I use a slide-in truck camper, which works great. The only problem is you got to deal with these jacks, which, you know, a lot of these campers, well, the ones I use are pretty old, so the jacks get sticky over a while, and you got to grease them up and make sure they're working well. But here's the thing, if you don't have a slide-in truck camper and don't have one of these jacks, you most likely have another type of jack. If you own, say, a boat, a camper, a utility trailer, you're going to have a tongue jack on there, and basically these are just longer versions of that. So if you're having a problem with your tongue jack on one of your trailers, it's basically the same operation. All right, so how I understand these things work is basically you got 2 pipes here, one smaller than the other one, so they fit inside each other. The bottom one should have some kind of nut inside of it, and the top is connected to a big long screw. And when you turn the crank on top, or the motor turns the gears on top of this one, it turns that screw, which winds through the nut and pushes these 2 apart. Common points of failure in this, usually it's somewhere up in the head here with the gears. The gears sometimes break, there's little pins in there that hold the gears together, sometimes they slip out. And the other problem is this screw in here, you know, over time, it can get kind of rusted up. Just like you have an old screw that, like if you're working on a car or something, it gets rusted up and you can't get it off. It's hard to turn. Same deal here. So what we're going to try to do is take that big jack screw out of here and clean it up nice, re-grease it, put it all back together, and see if we can make this thing work like new again. All right, we're going to start with the simpler one first. So we'll do the mechanical hand crank there. Put this one off to the side for now. Now where your differences are going to come in is in the top head here where you crank it. There's all different styles. You got ones here with just a nice removable top that pops right off. Real easy to work on. You have others that the handle actually goes right in through the side of the pipe. And basically the difference is just how the handle attaches and how the gears are up inside the head here. But the overall goal is when you turn the crank, it turns gears, which turns that jack screw. So let's open up the head of this and see what the gears look like in here. So this one just has a little metal band that's holding this little top cover on right here. Just got to find a way to pry that off. There we go. Just got that little band there. Now this top should pop off of it. There we go. We just exposed all the gears up in the top. All right, there's all the gears. This one just has 2. Got the gear that turns from the crank, and then just a 90-degree one there that turns the screw in the bottom. And each one of these screws has a little pin in there you got to pop out to get the gear off. So we need to pull this handle apart to pull that out. So let's start with that. Just got to knock that little pin out of there. Just needs to turn a little bit so I can get at it. There it is. There, you can kind of see the pin sticking out right there. We just got to pop that out. There. Sometimes you just stick a nail in there if you're punched, you can't go all the way through. Boom. And they do go flying, so don't lose them. So here is just a little pin. It's just a hollow tube is what it is. Put that off to the side so we don't lose that. Put that nail out. Now, allows that to pull right out. And this is really greasy. There's a lot of grease in all this stuff, so I'll have some towels handy. There's one of the gears. Look, it's pretty full of grease. After a while, sometimes that old grease hardens up. It makes everything hard to turn also. All right, now the same thing for this bottom gear. It has a pin in it too, and we knock that out. It should allow, oh, there it came right off. Okay, this one doesn't need a through pin. It just has like a little cross in it. Right there, and that sits on top of this little pin, which actually comes right out real easy. There it is. All right, now there's the top of that screw. I just push it out. This whole thing should just separate. Oh, there we go. It's in two pieces. Yep, it's just a hollow tube, nothing else in there. All right, so this is the screw that we're worried about. There's a couple washers here, so I got a little, let's see if those pull off. There we go. A little one on top, a plastic one on top, metal one underneath. That right there. So the problem is, like I said, this screw gets kind of sticky and doesn't want to screw through that sleeve that it's going in. So really the key to fixing any of these jacks is just knowing how to take apart that head part, get all the gears and stuff out of there so you can access this screw, or inspect the gears to make sure. Sometimes these gears get broken teeth on them, and that'll also make it, you can hear when you're turning it, it's more of a grinding sound. Where in here it's just a really stiff, hard to turn thing. So I'm guessing it is something to do with this screw, and you can tell right now it's really hard to turn. Got some old deep creep from Seafoam. I like this stuff, works pretty good. We'll squirt it down into there. See if we can't get this to loosen up a little better. If you didn't get it close up yet, here's the jack screw. Goes into this little sleeve here, which is like a nut. It just screws in and out of. And when it screws in and out, it pushes this bottom part up and down. For cleaning this grease and stuff up, I find the brake clean works excellent. Takes it right off. Don't want to squish it too hard and bend it. So. All right, it's starting to turn. So I'm just putting a punch there through that hole, give me something to turn, and then it turns the screw right out of there. When I get this out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up this jack screw, see if I can't clean up that nut inside of there, and inspect inside, make sure everything's nice and clean and rust free. It's going easier now. You should just pull right out of here, unless there's something stopping it at the end. I don't know. All right. I can't tell if it's like stopping when I turn it now, or if there's something like keeping it in there or not. So I'm going to hook it to the electric grill and do it the easy way. Yeah, it's going in. Oh, I know. I just bought a new tool that'll work perfect for this. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I got a digital endoscope, so we can go right up in that end tube and take a look at the back side, see what's there. It seems so cool. I just got this thing, haven't even used it yet. Cool thing, this was only, what did I pay, 60 bucks for this thing? It's quite a deal. And you can, it's got 16 feet of cord on it. I can put a little 3.5 millimeter camera and go right up there and take a look. All right, let's hit record. There we go. Now you can see what I see. See the picture, right? There it is. There's the end of the tube. Let's go on in. It's pretty rusty in there and full of grease. Ew. All right, get near the top there, see what the back side of this nut looks like. It's actually a little cleaner up towards the top part. Okay, that whole thing's turning. Let's see if I turn it back in. That's what it looks like turning from the inside. That's kind of cool. All right, now it's turning easier again. So what is that on the end? There appears to be a piece on the end. Well, you know what that means? We got to screw it all the way back through that way if we want to get this thing out. It's about up to here right now, about the last 6 inches or so from the end. Live and learn here. Let's see if it pops out this way. If not, then it just ain't coming out, I guess. All right, now that I got it screwed mostly out, I'm going to show you what it looks like with the jack screw in there. See right in the end there, you got kind of like a little washer deal or something, so it won't go out the other end. But if we go up past it, we can go all the way up to the top. See, it's just a screw in a hollow tube here. And get it right up near the top. I can kind of see a little hole there on the left. That's just the little top part here where the nut, you can see my hand right there. So it's just like must only be an inch or two wide where this nut that it screws through. All that grease up in there. That's pretty cool. All right, I found a 3/4 inch socket actually fits on the end of that jack screw there. So let's just unscrew it that way. All right, here's what I learned. I don't think that screw is meant to come out of that sleeve there. So I'm just gonna back it all the way out and just leave it in there. Just get it out as far as I can. We'll take it over to my bench grinder there and we'll clean it up nicely. All right, that worked well. I got this all nice and shined up. Get a nice close-up look there. It's beautiful. One thing you want to look for is any imperfections on this jack screw. I was looking real close and overall looks pretty good. There are a few nicks and stuff out of it in certain places which may be giving me some trouble. There's one right there. I think it looks pretty good. There's just this one spot right here which might be part of it that's giving me some trouble. And while I was at it, I just used the wire wheel and kind of shined up the whole thing. Then put some of this silicone lubricant, just sprayed it and wiped it on. Help protect it a little bit, shine it up. The silicone doesn't collect dirt and stuff, so it's a good choice to use there. And then I also cleaned up the top piece of it. You can see, I got rid of most of that grease and everything that was in there. You know, it's an old jack, it's not the prettiest thing, but we'll see if we can't make it work good. And next we got all our gears and all our pieces that came out of the top. I shined those up too. It looks really good. Look at these babies. Look at, they almost look like new. Beautiful. Way better than they did. Got all the grease off the washers, that kind of stuff. All right, now before we put it back together, we're gonna rub some automotive grease on the jack screw and all the moving parts. All right, let's put it back onto the top piece here. Now one thing to note, there is a little indent. There's a little indent in the top piece and a little groove in the bottom piece. Those two got to line up because when you turn that screw, that bottom piece wants to twirl too, and this keeps it from twisting. There it goes. It's back through the top. Now we can put all our gears back together. Put that pin through the bottom piece. So there's that pin, I just slide through that bottom hole there. And then the one gear just slides over the top of that. First I'm going to throw a little grease on there. Now the gear has a little cross on it there. One side's a little bit shorter, the other one runs all the way through. So the pin's going to go on the little shorter direction. Problem is getting this all put together without it falling apart on you. Put it in, line it up, and just sits on top. So kind of like a little puzzle. You just put this here, you got to match, put the gear where it's supposed to be. Slide it all the way through. And it's in. You just got to find the hole in the crank handle here so you can put that little pin back through that gear and hold it still. Otherwise it just spins. That's another common problem you'll have with these. If that little pin in there breaks off, you turn the handle, you can see it just turns, nothing happens because that little pin that holds it together in there breaks off sometimes. All right, before I put the cover on, let's put the handle on it and see if it turns. Oh, much smoother. Ah, shoot. Guess what I forgot? Got the two washers, got to go in there first. All right, let's take her apart again real quick. All right, just pulled it apart. The two washers, the little one on top of the big one, goes on top of the jack screw inside the tube. So now we got that, now we can slide it back in. All right, let's throw the top back on it. I don't think it matters which way, it just goes over the top. And then a little wire piece here that holds it in place. There, it's fully extended. Now I'm just going to retract it all the way. This might take a while, so I might fast forward this part. So that's all the way down, and it works pretty good. Just that one little section in the middle there that gives me a little bit of trouble. And I think it's just some imperfections on that jack screw right in that spot. But there's nothing else I can really do about it, so we can use it as is. It's usable. It's going to have a little bit harder crank right in that few inches there. But we'll call this one done, and we'll move on to the next jack. All right, we're on to the second jack. This one came off my stable lift. Like I said, if you don't know what a stable lift is, they are one of the most awesome things I have ever bought. If you own a slide-in truck camper, I would not own one without it. I'll try to make a video just on the stable lift if you're curious what they are, so look for that video coming up. So the power head here, just a big old electric motor. It's got 3 Allen wrench screws right here, just 1, 2, 3. I already unscrewed them. You just pop the head off. Again, this just takes the place of your manual hand crank right here. And you can see it's got the, kind of like the other one, it's got that little pin in there. And that pin will turn the screw. If we look, this piece here, that's where the screw is. So now we just got to figure out how to make it come apart. It's a lot of grease. I put a lot of grease in here because it was so hard to turn. It was just squealing like crazy, and I go to the campground, like everyone would be looking at you, especially you get in late at night and it's just whining, squeak, squeak, squeak as it goes up, and waking up the whole campground. So it's kind of embarrassing. So I really need to get this fixed. So we have a few more of these Allen screws on the edge here. I'm wondering if that is holding this piece in. If I gotta unscrew those. Well, let's do it and see what happens. Said I haven't had these ones apart yet, so kind of learning as I go here. This seems to be an obvious thing. It's got a little screw. I'm guessing it's holding the top piece in, and then the whole thing might just slide out. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I'm going on a little fishing trip here this weekend in a couple days, so I gotta get this job done so I can use my camper. All right, see what happens. Oh yeah, slides right out. There we go. There's where the 3 Allen wrench holes went. It looks pretty brown, like it got pretty rusted over the years. There's the top, just a bunch of grease, I think. Let me reach in. Oh yeah, just loads and loads of grease. It all stayed in the top here. I don't think any of it got to the jack screw. Okay, now the difference between the other one and this one is this one has a solid end on it. The other one was hollow in the end. You could see it, I shoved that endoscope in there. This one does not. It's full of crud in there. I'm wondering how, curious if this will actually turn out. I don't think it will, because it does hit its stop, yeah. Yeah, they got a little stop in there that lets them only go so far. This little top spinning part here seems to have some kind of bearing in it. Don't really know how to access it. Looks like there is a little slot here for a little wrench or something. I could probably pull this top off, and then this whole thing would slide off and replace the bearing. So if this little thing in here wasn't spinning good, I could put new bearings in there, but this seems to be fine. I don't think that's the problem. I think it was just this jack screw. It looks pretty rusted up. I'm making a good old mess here. All right, how about, I'm gonna take this over to the old bench grinder there and use the wire wheel, clean it up just like I did with the last one, and I'll be right back. All right, just like before, I put her on the wire wheel, shined her up, and put a little bit of silicone lubricant on it, make it nice and shiny. And I actually remember turning the light so you can actually see me this time. Now let's put her right back in the tube. The main thing here is I got these 3 bolt holes on here. I got to line up with the 3 holes on there. That's all there is to it. This one, like the last one, had that little groove in it that you had to line up so it wouldn't turn. This one doesn't have that. It just has this little top piece that screws in to hold it stiff. All right, there it's coming out of the top. Back it up. There it is. Throw the old Allen screw back in there. Go in. Yep, found it. Perfect. And just go around. There's 3 of them here. Now I've had these apart before too. This little top section here pops off, and there's a bunch of gears and everything in there that needs some lubrication every now and then too. The other thing, part of the squealing on this could quite possibly be just the motor wearing out too, so it could need some new brushes or stuff like that. So after I'm done with all this, if it's still making noise, then I'll work on taking these motors apart and maybe rebuilding them. But we'll start with this here. Let's see. Just gotta make sure it fits in that little groove. All right, this one is done, ready to be put back on the camper. All right, now I just got 2 more of these jacks to go do and get my camper ready for this weekend. I hope this helps seeing what it looked like inside here. It was kind of fun looking up inside the tube there and seeing the inner workings of these jacks. And they're pretty simple. Like I said, just a big jack screw that goes through this the nut on the lower unit, and some kind of crank at the top with some gears. And each one, like there's many different styles of these jacks, whether tongue jacks, camper jacks, whatever. The main difference is going to be the top section, how it attaches, how it comes apart, the orientation of the gears, all that kind of stuff. But in the end, all it does is go to turn a big jack screw down the middle of one of these things. And common problems, like I said, is that screw can get rusted out or damaged. The gears up top can get damaged. The little pins that hold the gears on, those can fall out, go missing, whatever. And so just take apart, they're pretty simple, and find the problem and go ahead and fix them. These jacks can be quite expensive, so if you learn how to actually fix these on your own, it'll save you a ton of money. All right, I hope that was helpful. Appreciate you watching. See you next time.